Imagine you walk into a Popeyes. What's the first thing you're gonna order? Probably a fried chicken sandwich and a buttermilk biscuit. But what if I told you that with that fried chicken sandwich and buttermilk biscuit, you could have a ma pao tofu jambalaya? We're Team Zura, and we're gonna tell you how Popeyes can turn this innovative idea into a profitable reality. In order to make this a reality, Popeyes must successfully enter the Chinese fast food market, and they need to do so by leveraging the acquisition by Tim's China. We plan on going about this by leveraging that acquisition and adapting the menu and marketing for Popeyes to enter the Chinese market. For our strategy for Popeyes to enter the market, we have broken it down by first analyzing the company, conducting market research, and finally implementing our strategy. So let's start by analyzing the company. Looking at a SWOT analysis, Popeyes has strong brand recognition, and there is significant opportunity with a 7 to 11% CAGR in the Chinese fast food market. However, there are some threats, most notably the high market concentration of Western fast food companies, as shown by the 53% market share and the growing presence of local competition. So how does Tim's China plan to financially support Popeyes? We projected a model out to 2026 using the given company financials and capital funding, and we found that by 2026, Tim's China can open 400 franchise locations with a projected revenue of 6.9 billion yuan and a 68% year-over-year growth revenue. But why would Tim's China take on Popeyes, who has previously failed to enter the market? Well, Popeyes has very successfully entered a number of other international markets, and they've seen substantial sales as a result of this. So in order for Popeyes to successfully enter this market, Tim's China must address why they failed those previous 2 times, which was largely due to the established competition of fast food companies such as KFC and McDonald's, and also Popeyes' inability to adequately customize to the market by adapting the menu to Chinese food preferences and not taking into consideration the growing price sensitivity and high conscientiousness of health concerns. My colleague Sydney will now address our marketing strategy.
So as my colleague Arden explained, Popeyes is ready for China. So now we're going to look into the market to see if China is ready for Popeyes. We created this foreign market assessment table in order to best assess the viability of Popeyes re-entering the Chinese market by comparing it to 2 benchmark countries, the United States, which is Popeyes' country of origin, as well as another large fast food market in the Asia region, South Korea. The key takeaways from this table are that the indicators of competitor market share, price sensitivity, as well as consumer attitudes towards fast food are some of the highest weighted indicators because of their significant influence in determining Popeyes' success in re-entering the Chinese market. In these indicators, however, China did not perform nearly as well as the benchmark countries, which signifies these indicators as being potential risks for Popeyes. For example, over 63.5% of Chinese consumers spend less than 20 yuan or $2.81 on fast food. So let's dive further into these risks. As you can see, the presence of already established competitors is a highly likely and very impactful risk that influences Popeye's strategy because capturing a highly saturated market is very difficult without differentiation. So Popeye should differentiate itself from the competition through localization and product adaptation, which simultaneously addresses the other risks of unfavorable consumer preferences towards Western cuisines as well as cultural distances. So who are Popeye's competitors? We identified 4, 2 foreign companies and 2 local companies. The key takeaway from this table is that there is this widespread market behavior towards health-focused product quality among these competitors. Popeyes needs to take note of this in order to be competitive. Additionally, this matrix indicates a potential price gap where Popeyes can position itself in order to stand out. Popeyes can achieve this positioning in the perception of its consumers by being a good value brand when people can purchase high-quality products at a moderate price. So what other indicators of our demographics do we need to take note of in order to best capture the market amongst this competition? One of them being the average age of fast food competitors, which as we can see is mostly millennials and the middle age, which significantly influences our marketing strategies moving forward. Additionally, we need to take note of the growing preference for health and sustainable foods compared to convenient and fast foods. We also need to take note that in China, the delivery method for fast food is significantly more popular than takeout, being about 3 times as much in revenue. Now let's jump into the implementation strategy. Daliji. This is our rebranded name for Popeyes in China. Now you might be wondering, why Daliji? Sounds nothing like Popeyes, right? However, within these 3 characters, the essence of Popeyes is better encompassed than it could ever be in a phonetic name. Daliji translates to powerful chicken. However, it means more than that. Dali, for example, derives from the name Dali Shuishou, which is the Chinese name of the beloved character Popeye Doyle, which happens to be the character that Popeyes gets its English name from. Additionally, Dali Ji resembles the popular Chinese idiom Dali Shi, which means powerful person. So in this way, we have that cross-cultural connection between the West and China. And finally, when Chinese consumers see our name Daliji, they think of the West and they think of Popeyes. So in this way, Popeyes can bridge over into China while maintaining their identity. Daliji is powerful chicken. Daliji is Popeyes.
Thank you so much, Sydney. So let's get into now the execution strategy in order to effectively make a marketing strategy that is as powerful as Dolly G says it is. We're gonna do a 3-pronged approach in which we will build out partnerships, we will position and promote the brand effectively, as well as adapt the product accordingly to the market. First of all, we must build our restaurants, and we will start in first-tier cities, such as those in Shanghai, in which we will build in large transport centers mainly. These markets are typically interested in the premiumization of Western products and international food, and we will therefore lean into that in our marketing strategy. Alongside this, we will then go into second-tier cities, such as those in Wuhan. In these markets, we will be building in commercial shopping centers mainly, and we will be doing even more work to adapt the market, the menu accordingly to the region in which we are selling. Down here, you can see the profit estimates. One other thing to note is that in the second-tier cities, we benefit from less competition, especially those among Western brands. Here's what our adapted menu will look like, and we will be effectively combining the international dishes as the base with Chinese flavors and textures in order to effectively appeal to the Chinese clientele. Here we have a Cajun fried chicken with Szechuan spice, which has a bold flavor profile that is popular in China. We also have a buttermilk chicken and rice, which leans into the Chinese preference for rice alongside meals, as well as the previously mentioned mapo tofu jambalaya and the red bean beignet, all spins on classic dishes from Popeyes. In order to further optimize our solution, we will be creating a new packaging that is biodegradable and sustainable, featuring Guangzhou-inspired design in order to attract younger customers, especially in that millennial market. And we are expecting this to increase brand loyalty by nearly 20%, according to McKinsey studies done in 2024. We expect this design cost to be between $15,000 and $30,000. However, we do believe that this will lead to a 15 to 20% boost in customer purchase likelihood, and will therefore be a wonderful strategy to go about.
So, as my colleague Giacomo just described, our restaurant strategy and our specific product offerings, vital to their success will be constant and rigorous testing to ensure they adhere to our established KPIs. Looking at our store KPIs, I want to point out the repurchase rate. Given that we are re-entering the market and we are bringing novel food offerings, there will undoubtedly be hype associated with our entry, and so we want to make sure we're having repeat customers, not single-time buyers. Look at the menu KPI. These factors will ensure that our products are created efficiently, cost-effectively, and in line with our marketing goals. We continue to stand apart from the competition by satisfying the objections that are the two most primary objections that Chinese consumers have when considering Western fast food. These are health and sustainability. Regarding the popular perception that Chinese fast-made chicken is both unsafe or unhealthy, we will work with the local Chinese government to gain various certifications and then market them through our omni-channel marketing to help calm the concerns of our customers. In regards to sustainability, we have multiple recommendations, both a sustainable supply chain as well as a regenerative farming system, which is based off of McDonald's regenerative farming plan. And the benefits from this are twofold, both from gaining favor among the Chinese government and the growing ESG market, but also from the 80% of Chinese consumers who prefer environmentally sustainable foods.
All right, let's go through this real quick. The third prong of our strategy is going to be a partnership with Tim's China, who is now the owner of Popeyes China. This is based off a successful model that was already been carried out by KFC and Luckin Coffee in China, in which we will have a joint loyalty program where points can be earned in both restaurants, as well as redeemed in both restaurants for food rewards, as well as exclusive promotions with a localized strategy catered to, for example, Lunar New Year, in which we'll have offers that are intended to increase short-term revenue by 25%, but long-term customer satisfaction engagement by 40%. As well as this, we will create co-branded items between the two. Here we have a coffee milk tea boba, which will be available at Popeyes, as well as a little coffee cake in the shape of a chicken, which will be available at Tim's. These tie into the fact that the Chinese pastry market is growing by nearly 10% through 2027, and the boba market is actually expected to nearly double by 2032. So we expect these to be popular, gaining about 37.5 million yuan in a monthly revenue from a trial phase. That is our goal. And if this is successful, we will continue to implement it elsewhere. Lastly, it's important that we integrate AI, as this is a growing and important sector in our field. And with the new Popeyes China app, we will be using AI to have targeted recommendations for customers based on menu choices based on customers' certain needs and where they're located. We will also be partnering with other apps, such as these two delivery apps right here, which already have a very big presence in China. This first one actually already has 540 million annual users, and we think this will be incredibly effective in getting our name out there even further and hopefully increasing our brand revenue by up to 10%. Lastly, in order to really drive home the younger millennials and Gen Zers who are a big part of the market here, we will be partnering with influencers in order to carry out marketing strategies. And these will consist of mid-tier food marketers who will promote the product, create FOMO, create hype around them, and in doing so, it helps effectively bring our products into the Chinese zeitgeist.
All right, so as my colleagues described in the market analysis section, we have four primary competitors in this market, being the Western-based McDonald's and KFC, and the local Wallace and Decos. To effectively price ourselves, we're going to go between these two segments, undercutting KFC McDonald's while still retaining our premium positioning over the cheaper local Wallace and Decos. I want to also point out that as we enter the market, we have an aggressive strategy of providing significant coupons to consumers to drive initial purchases. Drawing your attention to the specific prices, this is our base model, but consider as well that there will be regional price variability, which will be influenced and informed by the data that we collect from our partner, Tim's China. Speaking of the synergy with Tim's China, our collaboration with them significantly eases our process of production. All the way from supply to eventual delivery, our supply chain is streamlined and our logistics are simplified. From this, we're able to gain effective market penetration, and our strategy is tiered and contingent on the success of prior stages. So, beginning with first-tier cities, we target these because of their high population density, their international appeal, as well as their high disposable income. From there, we move on to newer first-tier cities, and then second-tier cities, which are notable in that they contain the unique cultural blend of traditional and modern Chinese culture, making them the perfect testing ground for our fusion food offerings. From there, we move on to further expansion across the nation, keeping in mind, of course, to stay in line with our long-term financial goals. Our long-term financial goals are both large in scope and few, intentionally, because we want to have room for adaptability as we pursue them. So within the next 10 years, we're looking at a restaurant expansion of 1,500 stores, around $3 billion in system-wide sales, which represents a 9% market share in the fast service chicken industry. We have a reasonable timeline set out to achieve these goals, which allows for leniency in achieving the implementation, the marketing, and the eventual multi-city tiered strategy. So, to summarize all that we have talked about today, to address the problem that is Popeyes entering the Chinese market while co-developing with Tim's China, we are providing you with the solution that is to analyze and understand the Chinese market and consumer deeply, and then directly address them through localized product offerings, competitive pricing, and our tiered expansion strategy, all the while conducting rigorous testing with our KPIs and while being influenced and informed by Tim's China's logistical information. And through all this, we are going to ensure that Popeye's China's name can live up to the strong title of Da Li Ji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can you go back to earlier in the presentation? You had a chart with axes of perceived quality and price.
Please.
That one. Back. One more was the
No.
other way.
The one with the logo.
That. Okay. So here's my question. It's two parts. First, can you really achieve the highest quality perception, but at an average price? Or said differently, if you can achieve a high quality perception, why not charge a higher price? Why would you want to be highest quality but medium price?
That's a good question, and I think the reason your question is why, if we could achieve this high quality, would we keep our prices moderate? The reason is we're using both of these angles to penetrate the market. We know it's a saturated market. We know there's lots of competition there, so we want to have both of these competitive advantages as we enter. Long term, if it turns out that we get our 9% market share and really become established, we could reanalyze our pricing, which is why we have all these notes on adaptability and reacting to the market. But effectively, we want to penetrate as effectively as possible.
And can I add in as well that it's a similar strategy that Popeyes takes in America, actually, in the fact that Southern cuisine, especially though in China, is not really something that's seen all that much. And even though it's rather simple in nature, it could be as simple as switching up spices or certain food offerings while keeping rather similar to KFC. This is a really good point of differentiation that doesn't necessarily cost much more. And I think the interest in this food, being that there's a lack of Southern food in China, could be a really good way in order to also drive brand promotion and further increase our quality perception.
And also, if you don't mind me adding, we did do, when we did the foreign market analysis, one of the indicators was price sensitivity, one of the more significant ones. And so we did see figures where China's price sensitivity was significantly higher, just because also the price of living was increasing. And so that price sensitivity of the consumers, we had to balance that with their also increasing preference for the quality and health of the food that they were consuming. So it didn't seem like we could adequately capture that market, especially with the competitors, as my colleagues mentioned, without addressing both of these growing trends in the market.
At least in the beginning. That could change in the future, but to start off, yeah.
Thank you for the question.
You had a KPI slide. What are those numbers based on? The 70% margin.
Yeah, so that's informed by. Wait a minute. Oh no, it's definitely. Yes, so the KPI slide was informed, like everything in our presentation, by both Popeye's US averages as well as China top competition averages. So like the KFC and McDonald's. Do you want to look at specific figures? Here we go.
We're getting there.
Yeah, so all of these stores come from industry averages, both for American and fast food chains, the leading ones in China, and Popeye's averages in the US.
And we want to be able to react quickly given that there is so much competition. Let's say that even moderately a product's not doing well, because we're coming in with so many competitors, we need to ensure that we can quickly take things out that are not performing well. And of course, the higher the satisfaction, the better. So that's why these goals also may be stronger. Again, they're based on industry standards, but though they might seem like bigger numbers, they're really intended to make sure that we can stay competitive in the market with offerings that people really want to enjoy.
Yeah, and they were also tailored for the challenge. Actually, now that you say it, I remember off the top of my head, the customer satisfaction score that Popeyes has consistently in the US is 80%. And so we're going to account for some of these challenges that are going to happen as we enter and basically start with reasonable expectations and Unfortunately. Thank you.
I have a question about your eco-friendly packaging.
Yes.
Everybody says they want that. But do people really do it? Will consumers actually pay for it?
Yeah, well, a McKinsey study found that it could increase brand loyalty by customer engagement by nearly 25%. It's becoming a really big trend in China because, as we're seeing, especially with younger consumers, they're more focused on the increased environmental sustainability. But also something that's important to mention too, it's not even just the fact that it is sustainably packaged, it's also the design of it. It's kind of showing, this is obviously just a rendering right here. The final version will be much more advanced. However, this is creating a blend of art between the Western and Eastern worlds in kind of developing that Groucho style with imagery that is really pertaining to the customers in China, right? So it's going to be Western style imagery presented in a way, in art form that is indicative to China. This is also going to be a way to really drive in consumers and help them feel sort of the jump and the connection between the two worlds almost, and feel as though they are more involved with the product itself and that it's more culturally appropriate. It could be over time, for example, that we test this and we find it's not that successful, we would later on take it out of stock. But we really do think, focused especially on our main demographic, which is focused on the Groucho style, which is focused on sustainability, those younger Gen Z people and millennials will be really interested in this, and it's something we think is worth trying.
Additionally, a point made earlier was that this packaging serves a dual focus. Not only is it sustainable, but it's perfect for delivery, which, as we see in the Chinese market, has a 3 times bigger in terms of revenue market compared to takeout. But it could also be used for takeout, and so in that way, we're capturing multiple purposes. So we will see profit from this.
75% of consumers in urban markets in China prefer to have a portable carrying option when having takeout food. So that's also the basis and the idea in designing this product.
Have you considered, or do you have any analysis on how much you think you could save cost-wise by synergizing your logistics and with Tim's China? If not, it's okay. I'm just curious.
Oh no, I think it's, yeah.
I mean, okay, so we didn't actually drop specific numbers, if that's what you're asking, but if you look at our Gantt chart, most of our projected times are actually shorter than industry averages. Again, we're using the benchmark industry averages. But like I said in our conclusion, given the logistical analysis, the fact that Tim's China is already established, we have a successful business there for years, we can leverage the existing systems, and it will benefit us in terms of how quickly we can operate, how effectively we can operate. We don't have specific figures, but undoubtedly it will increase the ease of generating revenue as well.
Yeah, that would likely be in our next round of market research. But in any case, I want to go back and mention that, as we were saying, the fact of having Teams China there as a marketing partner, as a way to increase brand loyalty and show the Popeyes brand is also a significant advantage for us. And this has worked successfully in cases with KFC and Luckin Coffee, excuse me. So this is also a very big marketing advantage as well that we want to take advantage of. Thank you.
This is a really high-quality presentation. All of you across the board just really present yourselves very well and confidently. Something that stands out to me as a real strength is the way you've combined defining your KPIs with continual evaluation and a tiered expansion strategy. You're not going to keep going if it's not working. And you're aware of that. And I like that a lot. I also thought the loyalty program you came up with, you're not over-promising and it's not a crazy, unrealistic set of synergies. It's just a few really clever things to see if it works well together.
And the app could be used to leverage that as well very easily. That's how it's done in America most of these days anyway. So I have to vote with it. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I ditto that. It's the ability to just be open to change and adapt is a really really important quality in the job force, because you never really know. These are all assumptions until you test it. I like that you also touched on who you're targeting and kind of gave a little bit more detail into where, even if it wasn't on a slide, you at least verbally covered that. I thought it was fun, the innovations and ideas. I like the AI photos you guys used. That was smart too, to really bring kind of your concepts to life. And I like that you put numbers. I think what would have been nice is more of a summary slide. So rather than just be hit with numbers, there's kind of like one overarching either financial slide that kind of shows over the 5 years how many stores, what that means in terms of costs and revenues. That would have just been nice to sum it up and kind of tie everything you're saying into one picture. But I can see that you've done that analysis to at least look at how much this is going to cost you and what the potential uplift is, which is showing that you put some extra effort into it.
We'll make sure it's there next time. Thank you so much.